Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 6E. We will present about the lab report about lab simple pendulum. Our group members is ALIF ASYRAF bin ZULKIFILE as a group leader. The second one is Muhammad Akmal bin ABDUL KARIM. The third one is FARID ZULHILMI bin AMRI. And the last one is me, Ahmad Akmal bin Idris. Okay, I will present about the introduction of this lab report. So the first one is the pendulum has a length from its fixing point to the center of gravity of the mass and its end. Second one, the acceleration due to gravity affect the swing, and along with the length affect the time or period it takes for the pendulum to swing. Next is without friction, the pendulum will swing forever, but it lost energy to the air as it moves into friction at the pivot or toggle. And the last one is in the simple pendulum, the restoring force is proportional to the sign of displacement angle, not the angle. Okay, now we go to the real life experience. We list two example of real life experience connect to the simple pendulum. The first one is clock. The pendulum swings back and forth at exact intervals determined by the length at which the pendulum is suspended. To measure time accurately, a pendulum clock must remain stationary. Any sudden maneuver of the clock interferes with the regular motion of the pendulum. The second one is protection from earthquake. The design of the San Francisco International Airport terminal employs mechanical device called friction pendulums to protect the building from earthquake damage. Then the second one, this protection support create a pendulum motion that allows the building to sway with the shifting of the ground, thereby reducing the chance of catastrophic structural damage.
So I would like to present about equipment and the procedure. Okay, so the equipment in this lab experiment is the first one is a pendulum experiment fixture, and the second one is we use a ruler, and the third is protector, and the fourth is a digital stopwatch. Okay, so the next slide is a procedure. So the first one is the difference in weight of two simple pendulum balls being felt. The lightest was choose and fitted to the work panel. So the next one is a length 500 mm was set. So the third one is a one side by roughly 100 mm was pushed and release it to allow it to swing freely. It should just swing clear of the supports. Okay, the next one is the stopwatch has been used to measure how seconds it takes to complete 50 complete swings. Okay, note that swings will get smaller and smaller, but should always use the same period of time to move from one side to the other. So the length that we have used is 400 mm, 450 mm, 400 mm, 350 mm, 300 mm, 250 mm, and 200 mm were repeated. The result has been recorded in the table. And the last one is the experiment with the heavier pendulum also has been recorded. Okay, thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Muhammad Akmal bin ABDUL. I would like to present about the data and the conclusion for this experiment. First, we would like to see the data for a light pendulum. As we can see, when the string of the light pendulum decrease, so the time taken for the 50 swing also decreased. Now, we would like to see the data for the heavy pendulum. As we can see, the heavy pendulum and the light pendulum are almost same, where when the string of the pendulum is when the length of string decrease, so the time taken for the 50 swing also decrease. For the calculation, we use the same formula for both data light and heavy pendulum. First is actual period. We use this formula where actual period equal time for 50 swing per 50 second. And for the second calculation is T over 2 pi. Now, observation. From the observation that we can see during the experiment is there are some aspects that we concern that effect during this experiment. For the first is unsuitable equipment and measuring tool. The measurement that we did in this experiment is based on roughly and not accurate measurement. So the result from the experiment is slightly different from the theoretical result. Next, for the second observation that we concern is dissimilarity of the time taken and the 50 complete swing. The time taken may have been taken a bit earlier or a bit late. It happened because of the incompetence of human skill. For our last observation is the length of the string is a bit hard to adjust. It is because the string had already been used a couple of times and the past user had marked the string based on the length given. So the marker at the string become a problem for the next user to use. That's all for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya FARID ZULHILMI bin AMRI akan membentangkan tentang discussion dan juga conclusion. Okay, kita mulakan dengan discussion. For discussion, the mass of the pendulum does not affect the cause force and mass are proportional. The main effect of this experiment is the length of the string and the angle of the amplitude of the pendulum. The actual result does not equivalent to the theoretical result because of some technical human errors. There are some errors that happen in our experiment, such as the air from surrounding may disturb the vibration of the oscillation of the pendulum. Next, they may delay in starting and stopping the stopwatch may be occur some error during counting the oscillation of the pendulum. Otherwise, the point of suspension may not be rigid when doing our experiment. And the last one is the string may not be weightless and is extensible during the measurement taken. To overcome the error, we can prepare before start the experiment, which is make sure the string of the pendulum is tightening strongly to avoid the string form loose during the experiment, as it will increase the length of the pendulum string and affect the oscillation period time. Second, when conducting the experiment, make sure there is no additional force such as wind that push the pendulum ball as it will affect the oscillation period. Next, make sure when release the pendulum ball from its static position, make sure the pendulum ball is released in straight way, as it will also affect the period oscillation time. In order to make the experiment more accurate, the experiment was repeated while record the time taken to complete 50 swing and calculate the average to get actual period of the oscillation. That step will make the result more accurate. And the second one is eyes must perpendicular to the reading scale when they're taking the measurement, especially when reading the angle of the string when releasing the pendulum ball. Okay, for the conclusion,
From the experiment, we can see and conclude it as the more increase of length, the more period of oscillation record for 15 times complete pendulum swing is increased. The period of pendulum is affected by the length of the thread. This is because the velocity increased as the pendulum had to cover less distance in the given time. From that, this proves our hypothesis is correct. Next, this experiment shows that the different weight doesn't not too much effect and just minor range at certain length if we refer to the result and that we recorded for 50 complete swings. Besides that, there are some minor error that would be occur during doing this experiment, which is when the length of the string set is decreased, the string does not cut and then fit but was rounded to the top. This altered the value of the data recorded as it affected the angle of release, which is supposed to be kept constant. Last but not least, when the pendulum was oscillating because of its momentum, the whole stand was shaking. This irregular movement of the stand affected the motion of the pendulum as it did not have the same amplitude throughout, hence affecting the time period.